Merci. Juste pour dire que l'incident incroyable qui se produit vendredi passé fait en sorte que, à notre avis, et c'est ça que j'ai dit en Chambre, que notre confiance dans le président est fortement ébranlée. Et c'est pour cette raison-là que j'ai demandé de la part de notre caucus aujourd'hui que le président démissionne. Je ne le fais pas avec une gaieté de cœur, ça c'est sûr. Je trouve que le président, à plusieurs reprises, a été très efficace comme président, mais les circonstances sont telles que, à mon avis, il ne pourrait pas rester en poste parce que à tous les jours, on est présenté avec les gens dans la Chambre. À tous les jours, il y a des présentations des invités du président. Si on n'a pas confiance que la personne qui est en train d'être présentée est une personne qui devrait savoir cet honneur de la Chambre des communes, je ne vois pas comment on pourrait continuer avec le président. I just wanted to say the unbelievably sad incident on Friday that has hurt so many people across the country is something that, as far as the NDP is concerned, has resulted in us asking for the Speaker to step down. The fact that this man was presented to the House is something that is not acceptable to Canadians. And that is for that reason I've asked the Speaker to step down on behalf of our caucus. Every day in this House, sometimes multiple times, the Speaker will introduce people who are in the gallery. We have never had a situation where somebody who was introduced by the Speaker was not worthy of the honour of being greeted by the House of Commons. And I simply do not have confidence. My caucus, the NDP caucus, does not have confidence in the Speaker moving forward. It's not something that I do with joy. You could, I'm sure, tell the sadness in my voice, given the Speaker in the past having done many significant things, working us through the convoy, working us through the pandemic, and working us as well into the transition to hybrid parliament. But the reality is, he does not have the confidence of the NDP caucus, and he should step aside.
Pourquoi vous avez l'impression que son erreur ne peut pas être rachetée?
Mais la réalité, c'est que c'est une question de confiance. C'est comme j'ai dit tout à l'heure en Chambre, un lien de confiance est brisé. Et il faut dire aussi, on parle de quelque chose d'extraordinairement triste de présenter quelqu'un qui a eu des antécédents nazis en Chambre, d'être honoré par les députés. C'est une décision qui a été prise qui ne pourrait pas être rachetée par la suite. Ça brise la ligne de confiance, ça brise la confiance. C'est pour cette raison-là, je dis ça avec beaucoup de tristesse, qu'il devrait démissionner.
Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire la Chambre, pour la réputation de la Chambre à l'international, ça fait quoi?
C'est la réputation de la Chambre est fortement ébranlée. On a invité le président Zelenskyy ici justement pour renforcer, pour aider le peuple ukrainien qui sont dans une lutte féroce avec Poutine et son régime qui l'ont envahi. Puis on a maintenant une situation où là on a aidé Poutine plutôt que d'aider le président ukrainien. À mon avis, c'est une décision et une erreur qui est impardonnable.
He doesn't resign. Peter, what do you make of the conservative argument that Minister or Speaker Rota's acknowledgement of his responsibility aside, that the government ultimately bears responsibility for the presence of that individual, given the government was the host, the Prime Minister ultimately is, through the Minister of Public Safety, is responsible for security and vetting in the House. What did you make of that argument?
Well, it's not been my experience on the Hill. My experience is that you have the Speaker who is allocated a certain number of seats and does their own vetting. There are many times a day sometimes when the Speaker is recognizing people in the audience in the galleries, and I am not aware of any sort of process that involves the government oversight of that. So I believe, as the Speaker said, it was his decision, and on that decision, he needs to step down because he has certainly lost the confidence of our caucus.
Do you agree with the PMO that the House Speaker should be the only one who should shoulder this blame for this mistake, that the PMO or the government really shouldn't be accountable for this?
Well, I think it's fair to say the Speaker has acknowledged that it was his decision and his decision alone. I don't believe the apology is adequate. I think Canadians need to be reassured. People of the Jewish community across the country who have had members of their family suffer the appalling genocide that was the Holocaust deserve to have a Speaker who is accountable for the actions he's taken. And to our mind, that accountability means stepping down.
But if he doesn't resign, what do you do?
We had a similar question around the public inquiry into foreign interference. And you'll recall at the time the NDP said we would use procedural tools. We have the ability to use procedural tools. It is unclear to me in the House exactly where the other parties are at this point. We have clearly signaled our lack of confidence. There are procedural tools that the House has if members of the House of Commons share the NDP's view that the Speaker cannot continue. So we'll have to stay tuned on the coming days. There are a number of procedural things that could happen, but I think your questioning of the other parties as to where they are at will help to indicate where things could go from here.
How can the Speaker carry out his duties impartially when he's the topic of debate right now? Should he be stepping aside and someone else, dealing with this?
That's our position, that he should step aside for the good of Parliament. And that's not neglecting the fact that he's done good work as Speaker. I referenced that in the House. But what happened Friday was horrible. It was terrible. It was profoundly hurtful for so many Canadians and to people around the world. And he has to step down as a consequence of that.
What responsibility should the government bear?
Well, we're focused. The Speaker said it was his decision. I believe him on that. It is a decision that comes fraught with profound consequences. One of those consequences, as far as we are concerned, is that he needs to step aside as Speaker.
Did the procedural tools you've got, is it a motion before the House? How would you proceed? I don't know if that's too hypothetical at this point, but how would you proceed?
Again, it depends on where other parties and where other members of Parliament are in this. The NDP sent we wanted to very clearly indicate to the Speaker that he did not have our confidence. It is unclear to me where the other parties are at, and I think that's a question that is better posed to those other parties.
Did the NDP have any guests in the gallery? Can you describe how that process worked?
We submit lists, the caucuses submit lists that are vetted by protocol. I don't believe that the Speaker's list is necessarily included in that, but that's something that I think journalists can find out in the coming days.
Le président Rota ne démissionne pas. Est-ce que ça pourrait aller jusqu'à une motion de censure de la part du NPD? Jusqu'où vous êtes prêt à aller?
Encore une fois, pour nous, on a signalé ça aujourd'hui, mais c'est pas clair si les autres partis partagent notre manque de confiance dans la présidente.
Vous êtes prêt à aller jusqu'où?
Mais d'abord, le président est élu par la majorité des députés. Alors, la question, c'est où sont les autres partis, où sont les autres députés là-dessus? Ça, c'est une question que vous pouvez leur poser. Au niveau procédural, il y a beaucoup des outils qui pourraient être utilisés, mais d'abord, il faut savoir où les autres députés se trouvent là-dessus.
I get that you want to wait to see what the other parties are saying on this, but are you going to try to actively rally support for a vote to remove Rota, or are you going to wait and see where the other parties are?
Well, we've signaled where we're at, and now it is for other members of Parliament and other party caucuses to decide.
To be come on board with us.
This is a profoundly saddening experience. This is not something that is should be any sort of political game. It is we, as parliamentarians, did something that was profoundly offensive and insulting to people around the world, that denied the kind of the reality of the Holocaust as a genocide. So this is not something that we believe should be trifled with at all. My statement was sad because I feel for Mr. Rota as a human being, but I also feel for all the people who were hurt by what happened on Friday. And so we will be not campaigning, but we will be talking with members of Parliament of other parties and see where they are. And I think the public as well will be weighing in. And we're certainly seeing that in terms of calls to our offices, letters to our offices. I think the situation may be clearer in terms of the other parties in the next few hours, the next few days. As far as the NDP is concerned, though, we are clear and unequivocal. We believe that the Speaker needs to step down.
En attendant, si M. Rota démissionne, mais en attendant qu'il démissionne, si c'est ça qui se passe, qu'allez-vous faire en Chambre? L'étude des projets de loi continue, donc vous allez quand même, entre-temps, respecter son autorité, puis...
On n'a pas le choix. On n'a pas le choix. Le président est en place. Moi, j'étais très clair qu'on croit que pour le bien du Parlement, il devrait démissionner. Il pourrait prendre cette décision tout seul. Sinon, si une majorité des parlementaires sont d'accord avec l'NPD, ça pourrait peut-être aller dans une autre direction. Mais on va voir dans les prochaines heures. Qu'est-ce qu'on trouve important, c'est qu'on signale comment c'était horrifique que cet homme-là soit reconnu et honoré à la Chambre des communes sans qu'on savait sur son passé. Ça, c'est très clair d'envoyer un signal à tout le monde au Canada que ce n'est pas acceptable. Et à notre avis, la responsabilité exige que M. Rota démissionne de son poste.
You're talking about this as a moral issue of sorts. I just want to be clear. Your colleagues say there is a security issue here. Do you see that to be the case at all?
I think in terms of procedures, that's something that needs to change. I'll be honest, in terms of protocol and the visits from foreign leaders, generally speaking, opposition parties submit lists, but it's a one-way street, and we are unaware, often until the last minute, at probably the same time as journalists are, as to what's going to happen, how things are going to how they're going to roll out and who's going to be involved. And I think this is definitely a wake-up call that kind of sort of close guarded protocol nature needs to change, for sure. Je vais juste prendre une dernière question.
Est-ce que, justement, vous avez parlé de plusieurs procédures, d'une motion possible. Est-ce que vous êtes en train de travailler sur une motion qui pourrait être déposée cet après-midi même? Puis est-ce que ça serait une motion?
On n'est pas en train de travailler sur ça. On attend un peu. Nous, on a signalé quelque chose. C'est pas clair chez les autres partis où ils se trouvent là-dessus. Alors, on attend un peu leur réponse. C'est quand même une explosion. On n'a pas vu ça depuis 23 ans, je crois, qu'un député demande la démission d'une présidente. C'est quelque chose de très grave et sérieux. On ne va pas jouer là-dedans. Je l'ai dit de la part de mon chef et de mon caucus, comment on se sent là-dedans, et on va voir dans les prochaines heures comment les autres partis réagissent. Merci.
Des conservateurs qui semblent blâmer directement le premier ministre Trudeau pour tout ça. Est-ce que c'est la faute à M. Trudeau?
Ça, c'est à vous de décider si les gens ont été impliqués ou non. Selon mes connaissances ici sur le canal parlementaire, le président a le droit de choisir certaines personnes pour prendre les sièges à la Chambre des communes, et je ne crois pas que c'est quelque chose qui passe à travers le gouvernement.
Est-ce que vous pensez de la position des conservateurs là-dessus?
Mais ce n'est pas mon expérience et ce n'est pas à mes connaissances. Je vais juste prendre une dernière question. Yeah.
I just wonder how you interpret the fact that yours was the only party to call for a resignation.
I'm not going to interpret it. I'm just going to leave it. This is a serious subject. This is not something Parliament has been called upon to do before. Certainly not in this century. So we believe in making our positions clear. That's what Jagmeet Singh, that's what the NDP have done. Now, we will see how other members of Parliament react, and we'll see in the coming hours. I expect this will be a fairly fluid situation. I must go back in the House.
You're not sure the Speaker has to submit a list. If that's the case, does that need to change? Is that something that has to change?
That's something that I think we all need to look at in terms of procedures for future visits. It's obvious that the system right now in place isn't working for Canadians. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.